When a billionaire doubted, a brave black boy revealed his amazing hidden offer of $1 million. Jamal's heart thundered as he tested the wires of his energy-saving device one last time, his fingers trembling. Today was the science competition, a chance to revolutionize lives like his own. Or, he feared, a chance to be rejected. Every night, he poured himself into sketches inspired by his late father, an engineer known for his revolutionary ideas. Yet, he couldn't shake the weight of doubt pressing down on him, especially with Mr. Thompson, the billionaire philanthropist, seated in the front row. Jamal's breath came in rapid, shallow bursts, leaving him anxiously reminding himself that he was not just an idea waiting to be discovered, he was a legacy waiting to be honored. What if Mr. Thompson stared at him with that signature indifferent glaze? The very thought sent a surge of unease through him. This invention wasn't just another school project, it was a lifeline for families like his. Would it truly matter if he stumbled over his words? Would it matter if he fumbled with the wires? His thoughts raced like a runaway train, caught between the comfort of his mom's unwavering faith in him and the cold, harsh reality of a world that often dismissed boys like him. The clock ticked ominously as he waited for his turn, and each passing moment deepened his internal conflict. Jamal clenched his sketches tighter, anxiety and determination waging a battle within. The skepticism in the audience's eyes consumed him, a hitch in his throat rising like a burning ember. If he failed to impress, would it mean his dreams were nothing but child's play? Panic threatened to eclipse his resolve, but he recalled his mother's words echoing in his mind, "Never let anyone tell you your dreams are too big." Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the microphone loomed before him, Jamal's mind filled with flashes of the endless possibilities his invention could create. Yet, Mr. Thompson's sharpened stare remained, a stark reminder of the privilege and wealth that excluded him from so many opportunities. When Jamal finally spoke, he could hear the tremors in his voice, feel the tension siphoning through the room. He fought against the fear tightening in his chest, it felt monumental. Every ounce of courage surged forward with his presentation until he saw Thompson smirk, dismissively shaking his head halfway through. It cut him deeper than he anticipated, a reminder that perhaps some doors were forever shut. Fury ignited a fire within him as he finished, determination clawing through the depths of his insecurities. But when the verdict was shared, Jamal's heart sank. Mr. Thompson declared his idea impractical, a mere child's whim. The disbelieving whispers among the audience stung like icy arrows aimed right at his vulnerability. In that moment, anger and despair collided, leaving him to question if he would ever make a real impact or if he was just chasing shadows. Yet he wasn't done. Finding strength amidst the wreckage of disappointment, Jamal sought guidance from Mr. Lee, determined to unearth whatever legacy lay buried in his father's past, even if it tore at his heartstrings. Could this connection propel him forward? Or would he continue to fight unseen, a dreamer lost in a world that often failed to see him? As he pulled out tattered photographs from a dusty box, determination surged anew. Jamal was far from finished. Would he summon the courage to confront the billionaire and show him the truth? What would happen next, and could he bridge the chasm between their worlds? The battle of wills was just beginning. As Jamal leafed through the faded photographs, he felt the weight of history pressing down on him. Each image encapsulated moments of his father's early career, moments that whispered tales of triumph against the tide of doubt. Sparking an intensity that burned within him, Jamal wondered how much of this story he could carry forward, how he might reclaim the narrative of his legacy. The next few days filled him with a developing vision, one that demanded courage and innovation, traits his father epitomized until his untimely death. Despite the torrent of anguish coursing through him, Jamal allowed the pain to catalyze his determination. He tucked the photos back into the box, but something about the spontaneity of their discovery ignited deeper questions. What had driven his father to succeed in an unforgiving world? What solutions did he forge that could light Jamal's path? That afternoon, he made his way to the library, armed with a notepad and a mission to uncover the engineering formulas his father had left behind. Sifting through dusty archives, Jamal discovered sketches and fragmented notes filled with equations that danced between practicality and ideals. His pulse quickened as he merged the remnants of his father's genius with the ingenuity he felt brewing inside himself. Like bolts of lightning striking at the heart of innovation, he jotted down ideas that connected to the energy-saving device he once envisioned. No longer was he a passive participant in an indifferent world, he was a creator, a builder, a son determined to honor a legacy. With each discovery came renewed hope and frustration in equal measure. Jamal sensed the boundaries imposed by wealth and skepticism narrowing his path but pushed against these limits with calculated defiance. He planned meticulously. He would build a prototype that not only demonstrated function but also encapsulated the spirit of his father's relentless pursuit of betterment. He needed to showcase his innovation where it would matter most, where it could reach people, where it could help them. However, as he sat at his workbench late one night, fatigue clawing at him, another thought swept over him. Mr. Thompson had dismissed his invention without a second glance. Would he be willing to reassess if it came with the assurance of his father's legacy to propel it? Jamal knew facing the billionaire again would be confronting not just a man, but a symbol of every hurdle he faced as a young black innovator. Still, the fear bubbled up within him. What if another crack of judgment echoed louder than his ambitions? As he leaned back, running a hand through his hair, he weighed the risks of facing Thompson. Would it lead to validation or further humiliation? Determined to navigate these waters, Jamal crafted a plan, buoyed by his father's blueprints, a rekindled vision, and the glimmer of hope that illuminated what lay ahead. He would gather the courage to unveil his advanced prototype in front of Thompson and others, but he needed more than just ambition, he needed a solid strategy. The next day, he visited Mr. Lee again, seeking wisdom as much as mentorship. Their dialogue opened new angles, insights on presenting ideas with clarity, as well as addressing criticism with composure that could command attention. Jamal honed his pitch, identifying the narrative threads that connected his past struggles to his aspirations, showing that innovation didn't emerge solely from success but rather from the intertwining of struggles and resolve. As Jamal prepared for this re-encounter, he finally felt the flicker of something profound surging within him, his identity as an engineer, a dreamer, and a son, all coalescing into a singular force. He had learned a myriad of lessons through rejection, and they had woven into the fabric of his resolve. The moment of truth was approaching, and Jamal knew that in summoning the courage to take this leap, he could give voice to his father's legacy while forging his own path. Would the billionaire's dismissive gaze shift, or would Jamal's moment of reckoning reveal deeper truths about self-worth and resilience? The days slipped away like sand through fingers, each one bringing Jamal closer to his crucial meeting with Mr. Thompson. The plan had taken shape in his mind, a blend of emotion and meticulous preparation. As he secured the last screws into his prototype, tension twisted in his stomach. Was he truly ready to show the world, and, more importantly, himself, what he was capable of? In the solitude of his workshop, the hum of tools faded against the backdrop of his thoughts. At that moment, doubt flickered like a candle in the shadow of his resolve. What if the prototype failed? What if he stuttered during the presentation? Each self-doubt was a whisper that echoed a history of rejection, not just from Mr. Thompson, but from a field that often overlooked the brilliance he yearned to share. That he tried to shake it off, focusing instead on the solution-driven mindset his father had instilled in him. Innovate through obstacles, his father used to say, a mantra he now repeated silently like a protective shield. The prototype before him wasn't just a metal shell, it was a manifestation of legacy, a culmination of late nights, early mornings, and every moment spent wrestling with fear. When the day of the presentation arrived, Jamal dressed with purpose, donning a crisp shirt and slacks. As he stood in front of the mirror, he practiced his opening line, his voice steady. But the reflection staring back felt more vulnerable than confident. The stakes had never been higher, and he could feel the weight of his father's expectations, as if the very air was charged with their unspoken urgency. Arriving at the office building, a stark edifice of polished glass and steel, Jamal paused at the entrance. Seconds stretched into eternity, a cacophony of hearts beating loudly in his ears. Did he belong here, among the elite? Or would he forever remain on the margins of potential? Shaking his head, he pressed forward, each step resonating with the conviction to challenge the status quo. The boardroom was intimidating, ivory walls lined with portraits of successful entrepreneurs and a glass table that seemed to gleam with judgment. Mr. Thompson was already seated, flanked by executives whose faces were masks of calculated interest. Jamal could feel their gaze piercing through him, dissecting his every move. This was not merely a product presentation, it was an intimate unveiling of his innermost fears and aspirations. Taking a deep breath, he placed the prototype in the center of the table, the world around him fading into a peripheral blur. He started his pitch, grounding it in the emotional tethering of his father's journey, a story woven together with threads of struggle and resilience. As the narrative unfolded, Jamal could sense a shift in the room, a collective inhale as they leaned in closer, captivated by the raw authenticity of his words betraying the polished veneer they often encountered. With each slide that illuminated the simplicity and sophistication of his design, Jamal's confidence surged. He revealed not just the functionality of the device, but the vision behind it, the ethos of creating solutions for everyday people who battled rising energy costs and an unsustainable future. The energy in the room began to transform as skepticism melted into curiosity. Faces that once mirrored indifference now began to flicker with anticipation, yet, amidst the affirmation, one question reverberated louder than the others: what makes you think this will succeed where others have failed? Mr. Thompson's voice cut through the enthusiasm like a knife, but instead of cowering, Jamal stood tall. This was his moment, he would not squander it to fear. Because, he declared, a steady breath settling his pulse, innovation doesn't exist in isolation. It thrives on the very stories of those it seeks to uplift. The conviction in his tone turned his words magnetic. This wasn't just about technology, it was about hope, legacy, and taking the reins of destiny handed down by his father. The silence was palpable as Thompson's gaze remained fixed on him, the billionaire's expression inscrutable. Jamal's heart drummed rhythmically, uncertainty twisting softly in his stomach once more. Had he managed to breach the barriers of dismissal? Had he painted a picture compelling enough to alter perceptions? The moment hung suspended as the executives exchanged glances, the air thickened with possibility. What would their response entail? Jamal's hands trembled slightly, whether from excitement or anxiety, he couldn't tell. But there was one undeniable truth: he had made himself vulnerable, he had revealed his worth, and now, the choice rested with them. As Mr. Thompson opened his mouth to respond, Jamal leaned forward, ready to embrace the unpredictable outcomes. Would a new chapter of dreams unfurl, or would he be sent back to the shadows from where he came? Jamal's breath hitched as Mr. Thompson paused, the silence amplifying the weight of his response. It felt like an eternity, the seconds dragging on as he tried to decipher the billionaire's expression. The gravity of the moment loomed large, each heartbeat resonating with the dream he had crafted through sheer willpower. Your passion is palpable, Mr. Thompson finally said, breaking through the thick tension. But passion alone won't carry an idea. We need to see results, measurable outcomes. His words were laced with skepticism, yet there was a hint of interest. Jamal felt a flicker of hope. Absolutely. I understand that, Jamal replied, his voice unwavering. That's why I've conducted pilot tests and gathered data demonstrating the effectiveness of my prototype. It isn't just a concept, it's grounded in real-world scenarios. He had anticipated this challenge and prepared accordingly. In a moment of clarity, he reached for a stack of graphs and reports he had created, the culmination of weeks of hard work and late nights. Handing the documents across the table, he said, this data shows the reduction in energy expenditure for families who tested my design. The feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. He watched as Mr. Thompson and the executives flipped through the charts, their brows furrowing and expressions changing with the numbers before them. This was his chance to showcase the fruits of his labor, his moment to underline the importance of innovation born from necessity. But as they studied the data, Jamal's mind spiraled inward. What if the numbers fell short of expectations? What if Mr. Thompson found a flaw in his calculations? The specter of doubt creeped in again, and Jamal consciously steeled himself. You mention reducing energy costs significantly, Thompson said, raising an eyebrow. What is your financial model supporting this? Can you maintain such low costs over time? Jamal had anticipated this line of inquiry as well. He straightened his posture, channeling the resilience he felt when working in his father's old garage, transforming broken-down appliances into functioning machines. Yes, sir. By streamlining production methods and sourcing local materials, my prototype minimizes overhead costs. I've also partnered with renewable energy suppliers to ensure continuity and sustainability. His words flowed with conviction, emboldened by a vision that reached beyond profit margins, yet, despite his well-prepared answers, he could see that several of the executives remained skeptical. Innovative ideas can easily collapse on execution. It's a risk, one of them stated, pushing the graphs aside. Their dismissive tone was chilling, igniting a fire within Jamal. This prototype isn't just theoretical, Jamal pushed back, steeling his resolve. It is part of a greater mission to change how we approach energy solutions and sustainability. I'm willing to bet my future on it. There was a moment of silence as his words lingered in the air, charged with determination. The executives exchanged glances, and Jamal could swear he saw a spark of intrigue in their eyes, but it flickered out too quickly to confirm. Was he making a valid point, or was he digging himself into a deeper hole? Let's say we move forward, Mr. Thompson said finally, leaning back in his chair. Jamal's heart raced. This was a pivotal point. What are you proposing in terms of commitment from our side? Jamal had anticipated this too, though the magnitude of what he was about to propose made his pulse race. I would like a commitment of $1 million for a partnership, he said, holding Thompson's gaze. Bold, Thompson replied, his lips curving ever so slightly into a smirk. What makes you think we should invest that much in a concept? Because it's more than a concept. This isn't merely about profit. It's about laying groundwork for collaborative success that can redefine the industry, Jamal countered, his voice steady, yet the tremor of vulnerability revealed the depths of his ambition. Investing in my vision is an investment in innovation that can save lives and create opportunities. As Jamal sat back, anxiety overtook bravado. His declaration hung in the air, suspended between possibility and peril. The executive's expressions betrayed nothing, but he saw wheels turning. What would they say? The moment felt precise, fraught with significance. Had he gone too far or merely grazed the edge of opportunity? Would this gamble pay off, or would he find himself standing alone amid dreams shattered? As Mr. Thompson leaned forward, an inscrutable mask donned once more, Jamal felt the weight of every doubt crash against his defenses. Let us see where this goes, Thompson finally said, a challenge dancing in his eyes. Jamal's heart pounded loud enough for the entire boardroom to hear. Was this the beginning of a breakthrough, or a mere whisper of possibility dissolving into air? He leaned in closer, both excited and terrified, as the outcome teetered in the balance. What he didn't know was that this was merely the prelude to a confrontation he never anticipated, one that would force him to confront the very foundations of his ambition. Jamal's pulse quickened, the weight of Mr. Thompson's words pressing heavily against his resolve. The promise of opportunity and peril mingled in his chest, creating a chaotic rhythm that drowned out logical thought. He had prepared for this moment meticulously, yet a gnawing uncertainty anchored him. As Mr. Thompson shifted his gaze to his fellow executives, Jamal's mind raced. He needed to stay composed, a pillar of confidence in the quaking landscape of corporate scrutiny. But as the murmurs went around the table, Jamal could feel the eagerness slip away as the executives engaged in hushed discussions. A thought ricocheted through his mind: what if this was a mistake? Did he overestimate his prototype's impact? A nerve-wracking silence enveloped the room as each executive returned their attention to Jamal, their expressions inscrutable. Designating the financial commitment felt monumental, like a poker player betting everything on a single hand. The stakes were high, but so were the potential rewards. He could sense that the next few moments would set the course for his career and possibly, the future of his idea. Your proposal is ambitious, Mr. Thompson finally broke the silence, his voice steady yet cautious. But ambition alone is rarely enough. How do you plan to mitigate the risks associated with a project of this scale? Jamal braced himself, recalling the countless hours he had spent crafting contingency plans and identifying potential pitfalls. I've thought heavily about that, he replied, drawing a deep breath to center himself. For starters, I've identified key areas where the project can pivot quickly in response to unforeseen challenges. I've assembled a team of experts specializing in risk management and market analysis who can provide insights as we move forward. Our first step is to create a project timeline with milestones to measure success along the way. As he spoke, a revelation flooded through him. He needed to prove that he could not only innovate but also navigate the complexities of their world. This was not just about a prototype, it was about blending innovation with astute business acumen. In that moment, he resolved to turn the executive's skepticism into an ally, using their doubts to sculpt his efforts. But how do you plan to maintain investor confidence when unexpected challenges arise? Another executive asked, their voice laden with doubt. This was the crux of the matter: trust. It was essential, yet so fragile. I believe communication is key, he said, eyes locked on the speaker. Maintaining transparency with investors about challenges and adjustments in our strategy will build a long-term partnership based on trust. My commitment is to provide regular updates and financial reports, and most importantly, to be responsive when issues arise, putting an emphasis on collaboration over conflict. Jamal felt the shift in energy as they processed his answers, the audacious fire within him illuminating his path forward. With each confidently articulated response, he pieced together a picture of a future where he wasn't just defending his prototype, but empowering it to thrive within their ecosystem. The executives exchanged calculating glances again. Would they resonate with his resolve? Jamal, Mr. Thompson said, his tone softer this time, a hint of challenge lingering. I admire your tenacity. But, let us say we proceed. How would you handle potential failure? It's a real concern in this sector, and one not easily met with idealism. The question felt like a test delving deep into Jamal's psyche. His upbringing had taught him resilience amid adversity, and he knew this was a crucial moment to draw upon that strength. Failure is part of innovation, he said, his voice unwavering. Every setback presents lessons we can build upon. What's vital is not the fall itself, but how quickly we rise, recalibrating our direction to adapt and ultimately achieve greater success. A flicker of intrigue crossed Mr. Thompson's face, hinting at a deepening engagement. Jamal could sense a potential alliance forming, one founded on an understanding of the realities that lay ahead. As tension coiled around him, Jamal could feel the stakes rising. It was not merely about funding, it was the dawning realization that he might be stepping into a partnership that would truly define his career. But the cloud of doubt still hovered, drawing uncertainty around each calculated move. In that crucial moment, he held on to his vision even tighter. This was his breakthrough, the chance to prove that a prototype born from necessity could transform an industry drowning in conventional thought. But what awaited him beyond these walls? The ground felt unsteady, but every ounce of uncertainty transformed into fuel for his ambition. Jamal realized then that while the challenges ahead were daunting, they were also an invitation for growth. Okay, Jamal, Mr. Thompson's voice cut through the weight of the moment. Let us reevaluate where you fit into our plans. Each venture requires an initiation, its own place in the game. As Jamal leaned back, the uncertainty of what that invitation truly entailed flooded through him. Could he thrive in an arena where ambition clashed with pragmatism? He would soon find out, but first, he had to play his cards right. Jamal's mind churned with the weight of Mr. Thompson's words. The half-formed invitation hovering in the air sat heavily in his chest. Was this the inflection point he had fought so hard to reach, or merely another crossroads littered with the detritus of failed ambitions? The uncertainty felt paralyzing, yet invigorating, each pulse in his veins demanding action. His thoughts darted to the meticulous plans he had outlined. Countless nights spent analyzing market trends, financial projections, competition landscapes, and customer insights flashed in his mind like a montage of effort and hope. He had grounded his proposal in cold hard facts wrapped in a vision. But what was needed now was not merely data, it was a performance and adaptation to the evolving expectations of the executives. "Mr. Thompson," Jamal began, his voice steady despite the tremors within him, "if you're suggesting a deeper role in this process for me, I am eager to seize it. But my vision also requires collaborative energy from the entire team." He noted Mr. Thompson's nod and continued. "We need a culture of feedback and support to weather challenges and explore innovations. I can facilitate that dialogue, helping to ensure that everyone involved not only invests their finances but their insights and concerns too." It was a declaration of intent, reflective of a leadership philosophy that extended beyond him. Jamal felt the atmosphere shift, as if his words were knitting together the fabric of what could become an empowering partnership. The executive sat motionless, studying him. A sea of expressions fluctuated between interest and guarded skepticism, but no one vocalized what they were thinking. Jamal could imagine their questions: who was this young man with grand dreams? What proof did he have of capability beyond this pitch? He chose to dig deeper, elevating the stakes even further. "I am committed to establishing an environment where success is shared and failure is a learning mechanism for all. Let us create accountability structures where our investors' concerns lead us to better strategies." As he spoke, memories flooded his mind, trials growing up that had shaped his understanding of risk and resilience. The chaotic moments in the streets where he learned to improvise, adapt, and overcome gave his words weight. He was not merely selling a prototype, he was showcasing a philosophy steeped in hard-earned lessons. "Tell me, Jamal," another executive leaned in, breaking the silence. "What are you prepared to sacrifice for such an ambitious vision?" His heart raced. It felt like the flashpoint he had been waiting for, a spotlight on the pivot between idealism and pragmatism. "I will invest my time, my energy, and the lessons I've learned from losing before. More importantly, I'm ready to invest my reputation." He met their gaze, unflinching, embracing the vulnerability of exposing his aspirations. That it seemed they hadn't expected such candor, and a ripple of surprise coursed through the room. Their guard began to lower as his honesty impacted their perceptions. Perhaps they now saw him not just as an aspirant but as someone willing to embark on this shared journey, to navigate the murky waters of risk together. Jamal. Thompson smiled slightly, the hint of a challenge lingering on his lips. "That's a commendable stance, Jamal. But what exactly do you envision as the next steps?" He inhaled deeply, summoning courage for a decisive answer. "I propose we bring together a diverse think tank, stakeholders from all backgrounds within the industry and beyond, to ideate and refine this prototype. They will help us better understand market needs while enhancing credibility with investors." Fires flared in Jamal's core. For years, he had felt the burden of proving his worth in a corporate environment where barriers seemed insurmountable. But now, with this new opportunity rising before him, he felt the thrill of anticipation. The executives were engaged, and he could sense them beginning to recognize the potential in his vision. The challenge of navigating this emerging collaboration would test his resolve but also sharpen his skills. As discussions resumed, Jamal felt the conversation shifting towards new possibilities, his mind racing with the next tactical moves he could employ. Deep down, however, he could feel a proto-fear surfacing. What if he failed to rally the team? What if the prototype underperformed against expectations? But Jamal pushed those thoughts aside, resolving to embrace the uncertainty as an avenue for growth, evolving from an innovator confined by fear into a leader emboldened by conviction. The stakes were high, and with each moment, he realized his authenticity was his most powerful asset. As the executives contemplated his proposal, Jamal stared out of the sleek glass windows, the city skyline dimming in the evening light, revealing a new horizon waiting to be claimed. But what awaited him on this bold new journey? Would he rise to conquer the inevitable adversities, or would he succumb to the pressures that tested his vision and resolve? Jamal's bold proposition hung heavy in the conference room, the air thick with unspoken potential. As he absorbed the executive's shifting expressions, a mix of excitement and dread surged through him. The dialogue around the room had transformed into a murmur of possibilities, yet he sensed a scarcity of conviction. They were still hesitant to risk their resources on an unproven journey. Mr. Thompson's inquisitive gaze bore into him. Jamal's heart raced as he felt the challenge embedded within that look. This wasn't merely about the prototype anymore. It was about the essence of leadership, the ability to inspire faith in others, to cultivate a vision that thrived beyond the comfort zone. Jamal, Mr. Thompson said, his tone measured, you propose assembling a diverse think tank. What if they challenge your ideas? Will you be prepared to nuance your vision? The question struck a nerve. Of course, Jamal replied, his voice more confident than he felt. I welcome challenges. They are opportunities in disguise. Constructive feedback will only strengthen us. Adaptability will be key. He could almost hear the applause of his inner voice but refrained from indulging in self-satisfaction. Being adaptable was one thing, genuinely articulating that adaptability was another. Days turned into a blur of back-to-back meetings, planning sessions, and brainstorming workshops. Jamal felt an exhilaration he hadn't experienced in years, yet every step forward both thrilled and terrified him. His ideals of shared success met with the cold, pragmatic nature of corporate life. Each member of the team came with their own baggage, aspirations, and fears. Was he prepared to navigate through them? During one intense session, while unraveling the technical specifications of the prototype, an unexpected tension erupted among the executives. Why should we trust your instincts, Jamal? One voice challenged, pointedly. You're just a kid with passion. What result proves you know the landscape? The atmosphere shifted instantly. Jamal felt the questioning eyes suffocating him, yet beneath that weight simmered a galvanizing determination. He visualized the countless hours he had put into refining his proposal, the setbacks he'd overcome, the lessons he had internalized. Passion is the foundation of any great endeavor, he replied, his tone measured yet urgent. But I'm not merely relying on enthusiasm. I have meticulously studied trends, consumer behavior, and the market's pulse. My commitment to this vision transcends passion, it's about crafting a movement that garners trust and cooperation. Some murmurs of approval rippled through the room, but others remained skeptical. Jamal realized the divide: those who could envision his ambitions versus those anchored in traditional mindsets. He had to bridge this gap. With renewed resolve, he organized a series of internal workshops. He encouraged team members to voice their apprehensions and insights, creating a safe space for critical discourse. Each session felt like a delicate tightrope walk, balancing vulnerability with authority. He thrashed through moments of doubt, unsure whether he was losing control or gaining clarity. As the meetings culminated, Jamal saw shifts in perspective: skeptics transforming into proponents, and hesitations yielding to enthusiasm. Yet, an unsettling thought lingered in the corners of his mind: how long could this newfound momentum last? Just then, Mr. Thompson approached him after a strategy meeting. Your methods are unorthodox, Jamal, he admitted. But I see a spark in you. Just remember, your leadership will be tested not just by us, but by the market itself. The weight of that statement hung heavy. Jamal understood that the greatest trials were yet to come. He would have to dismantle the self-doubt still lurking within him, while simultaneously showcasing his capabilities to a broader audience that included potential investors and clients who would dictate their fate. As he exited the building into the night, Jamal felt the brisk air invigorate him. His heart raced with both apprehension and anticipation. The road ahead was fraught with challenges, but it was also lined with opportunities to demonstrate unwavering resilience. What awaited him as he stepped further into the unknown? Would he be able to align his vision with reality and lead effectively, or would he crumble under the mounting pressure? The answers teetered just out of reach, but one thing was certain: he would need every ounce of courage he could muster. Jamal's first week after the meeting felt like walking a tightrope. Each day brought a deluge of expectations and responsibilities, each lingering doubt creeping like an unwanted shadow. As he inhaled the aroma of coffee filling the office, he was confronted by the reality of his tasks ahead. The energy from the previous workshops had faded, replaced by the stern faces of those awaiting results. Now was not the time to waver. He envisioned their skepticism as a tidal wave potentially overwhelming yet surmountable if he processed it correctly. Pulling out his notepad, he mapped out a plan for the upcoming presentation to the board, one that would bridge the gap between his ambitious vision and their cautious pragmatism. But his determination often collided with insecurity. Was he really equipped to command a room full of top executives? His heart thudded at the thought of addressing investors, especially after Mr. Thompson's pointed reminder not to underestimate the market's unpredictable nature. In the days leading up to the presentation, he honed his pitch, incorporating data and consumer insights that would bolster his case. He practiced in front of a mirror, scrutinizing his body language, searching for that confident smile to present. There was something almost poetic about it, the blend of nerves and drive steeped in the complexity of his aspirations. However, as he trudged through the developments, he felt the toll of distraction gnawing at him. Highly capable team members voiced their concerns, but they did so in rapid whispers that sometimes echoed too loudly in his mind. Every doubt felt like a windstorm against his fragile resolve, and he often found himself retreating into moments of introspection. After all, who was he to challenge the status quo? One afternoon, seeking clarity, he decided to sit in the park outside the office. The clouds drifted lazily across the sky, mirroring his swirling thoughts. He closed his eyes and envisioned the potential impact of his proposal, not just a business venture, but a transformative movement that inspired trust, creativity, and collaboration. This was why he needed to succeed. It wasn't merely about the office politics or the board's approval, it was about reclaiming his identity as a leader capable of making substantive change. Fueled by that realization, he returned to the office with renewed focus. He called a meeting that would reshape the narrative, one that would pivot from problems to solutions. "We are not here to merely navigate skepticism," he told his team, his voice rising. "We are here to defy it. Let us break down what we can present to the board, addressing every concern they may have." Where once the walls felt insurmountable, they now appeared as stepping stones. His team began to respond. They fleshed out his ideas with their insights, refining the pitch into something greater than he could have imagined alone. Each validation from team members unraveled more confidence within him, creating an atmosphere ripe for innovation. But then the clock whispered ominously. The day of the presentation arrived, and with it, the fear of failure clenched his gut. Anticipation surged as he prepared to face the executives he had hoped to inspire. He could hear the muted discussions as he awaited his turn, whispers of doubt and hope mingled in the air. When it was his time, he stepped into the spotlight. A million eyes rested on him, each holding a fraction of his future. As he began to outline his vision, prepared arguments backing every contention, he wrestled with a familiar inner voice cradling self-doubt. As he progressed through his presentation, he locked eyes with Mr. Thompson, who wore an inscrutable look, a reminder that every moment mattered. How could he break past the doubt that hung like a fog within that room? With every word, he leaned into his narrative, pulling from deep-seated passions and well-researched insights. But as he approached the conclusion, a single question burst forth from one of the executives. It lingered, a slice of ice cutting through the momentum he had built. "Why should we invest $1 million in this concept, Jamal?" The room froze. This was the confrontation he had feared. How would he turn the tide now? Would he crumble, or was there a hidden resource within him that could fend off the cold currents of doubt? His heart raced as he steeled himself to respond, knowing that this moment could either elevate his vision or crush his ambition completely. The silence was deafening, and Jamal's mind raced as he felt the weight of the question hang in the air. Every moment of preparation, every nerve-wracking practice session had led to this. His instinct told him to falter, to retreat under the barrage of skepticism. But something deeper stirred within him, a flicker of resolve igniting against the chilling doubt. "Because this is more than just a financial investment," he began, channeling every ounce of conviction he could muster. "This is an opportunity to redefine our brand in an evolving market. We have the unique potential to lead innovation that does not just serve our interests, but creates trust and loyalty among consumers." With each word, Jamal's passion intensified. He spoke about the changing landscape of their industry, how consumer preferences were shifting towards brands that displayed authenticity and responsibility. He could see a slight nodding from a few members of the board, and that small gesture fed his momentum. Imagine the narrative we could craft together, one that resonates with a new generation, a narrative driven by collaboration rather than competition. By investing this amount, not only do you uphold your position as industry leaders, but you also transform the market itself. He felt as if he were weaving together the strands of potential and opportunity, molding them into a vision that was difficult to resist. The faces before him began to shift, lines of skepticism softening, appearing more open. But just as he felt the tide turning, Mr. Thompson interjected with another sharp question. What makes you think the market will accept this radical shift? There are established players who dominate the space. What if this fails? The challenge landed heavily, but it also ignited something inside Jamal. He had faced challenges before, but this felt different. He took a deep breath, allowing the moment to settle, centering himself in the conviction of his knowledge. Because failure is part of innovation, he stated firmly. What is crucial is how we adapt, learn, and pivot from it. By setting our sights higher and committing to this vision, we signal to the market that we are unafraid to embrace change. In fact, our willingness to invest in this transformative approach positions us at the forefront of what the consumers are demanding. He could see interest flickering in the eyes of the executives, the pulse of their perceptions shifting. This wasn't merely a defense against doubt, it was a declaration, a testament to his understanding of the market's pulse and the beating heart of the consumers. As he wrapped up his presentation, Jamal felt a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. He had not only confronted the board's skepticism head-on but had also begun to reclaim his narrative as a leader. Either this would culminate in approval, or it wouldn't. But for the first time in a long time, he knew he had faced his fears and melded them into something constructive. The meeting ended with polite applause, but there was a lingering tension in the room. Discussions ensued, a good sign, he thought. Jamal left the boardroom with uncertainty thrumming through him, a cocktail of adrenaline and anticipation. However, as he exited, he overheard fragments of conversation that stoked a new anxiety within him. Apparently, some executives had aligned with the traditional approach, yearning for the established safety net rather than the risk of the unknown. Jamal paused before stepping into the hallway, a knot forming in his stomach. Was he truly prepared to fight for this vision, to advocate fiercely for a change that others were resistant to embrace? A deeper realization settled over him: there would be no easy path forward. He would need to rally not just his team but also those within the boardroom to ignite their faith in his vision. The stakes were high, but so were the potential outcomes. As he readied himself to confront these challenges, a single thought resonated within him: the battle for a progressive vision was only just beginning. How could he galvanize the executives and spark the commitment he desperately required? With determination etching itself into his resolve, Jamal turned back towards the conference room, knowing that the upcoming weeks would be a test of both perseverance and persuasion. The moment of truth approached, and he was ready to face whatever came next. As Jamal stepped into the conference room for the follow-up meeting, he felt an electric tension in the air. The executives were gathered, their expressions a mix of apprehension and anticipation. The past weeks had been an intense whirlwind: workshops to hone his vision, late-night revisions of data, and relentless practice in front of all possible scenarios. He was now armed with a well-refined pitch, bolstered by feedback and suggestions from his growing support network at the office. The stakes had risen significantly since his last presentation. Jamal was no longer simply advocating for his prototype, he was now championing a shift in thinking within a company steeped in tradition. This was not just a chance for a financial boon, it was about setting a precedent for innovation in a legacy environment. As he took his place at the front, he could feel the collective spark of doubt among the executives. Perhaps the skepticism was justified after all. Transformation was never easy, especially where established practices reigned. Nevertheless, Jamal felt a powerful conviction coursing through him, a blend of responsibility toward his father's legacy, the community he wished to uplift, and a belief in the zeitgeist of change that was both necessary and inevitable. "Thank you all for reconvening," he began, his voice steady. Last time, we explored the potential of my prototype and discussed its viability within our industry. Today, I aim to provide clarity on the execution, ensuring we are all aligned and prepared to embrace this evolution. Jamal noticed some gestures of skepticism, but he leaned into the challenge. Instead of backing down, he leaned forward, presenting a clear visual roadmap that outlined immediate next steps, responsibilities, and timelines. He had spent hours crafting a narrative that wrapped practical considerations around the emotional heart of his vision, solutions arising from genuine need, grounded in real data but fueled by hope and ambition. The market is ready for change, he asserted, drawing on findings from his pilot tests and market research revealing a shift in consumer expectations, particularly among younger demographics. They want authentic brands. They crave innovation that isn't just for profit but elevates communities. This prototype isn't just about cutting energy costs, it's a message, a challenge to our industry conventions. As he spoke, he referenced letters from families who tested his prototype, praising both its effectiveness and the empowerment they felt from being part of a solution. Sharing these stories ignited a quiet passion within the room. For a moment, he could see eyes soften, hear the collective heartbeat of possibility pulse a little louder. But what if this isn't enough? Came a voice from the back. It was one of the executives who had been particularly cautious in previous discussions. What will you do when those doubts manifest in the marketplace? If this initiative fails, it could tarnish the reputation we've built over decades. Jamal sensed the pivotal moment. This was his opportunity to transform doubt into a rallying cry. Failure is not the opposite of success, it's a crucial component of it, he responded, channeling the clarity coursed through him. The greatest innovations often rise from the ashes of setbacks. Together, we will not shy away from challenges. Instead, we will create an environment where adaptability is our strength and transparency is our guiding principle. We will address a setback not only together but actively incorporate it into our journey toward success. He unveiled a plan focused on systematic progress tracking, regular updates, and an open-door approach that welcomed concerns and solutions, framing failure as a stepping stone rather than a final stop. This was the model of leadership he aspired to embody, not a singular journey of triumph but a collective endeavor forged through shared experiences and resolve. As he outlined the tangible metrics they would use to measure success and adaptability, mixed reactions amongst the executives filled the silence. Then Mr. Thompson leaned forward, interest visibly captured, and offered a quick, probing question: what timelines do you envision for achieving these benchmarks? Within 6 months, we'll have gathered user feedback from the second prototype launch, alongside comprehensive performance analytics. I want us to leverage insights regularly and iteratively evolve our approach based on real-world feedback. By the end of the fiscal year, our goal is not just to have a product ready for market but to cultivate a community around it, one that reflects our commitment to sustainability and social responsibility. The shift in the room was almost tangible. Those who had once doubted his ability began to engage. They asked pointed questions and provided suggestions, showing interest in exploring how Jamal's vision could intertwine with the corporation's existing structures. As the meeting concluded, Jamal felt a sense of accomplishment bloom inside him. The executives were leaning in, curious and engaged, no longer hesitant but excited about the richer opportunities lying ahead. It dawned on him that his evolution had become evident. He was not just presenting an idea but affirming a shared mission, one blending his youthful passion with strategic foresight. Months later, as Jamal received recognition for the launch of the prototype and its success in the marketplace, he stood in front of a team that had transformed into a cohesive unit, supportive and eager to face challenges together. This success was not only a financial achievement, it was a heartfelt manifestation of resilience, forging a path where his father's legacy intertwined seamlessly with contemporary needs. Jamal stepped aside for a moment to absorb the view of his journey. The boy whose dreams initially felt dismissed had evolved into a leader acknowledged for innovation and tenacity. The palpable sense of pride surged through him, a justified testimony of where he had been and where he was headed. He now understood that each challenge had not only increased his competence but also redefined him. He was no longer merely a dreamer but a doer, shaping a narrative that resonated with hope and possibility. this was his moment of personal achievement, accomplished through dedication and the clear realization of self-worth, emerging from the shadows of doubt into a space he was meant to fill. As he looked toward the horizon of future projects, he knew this was just the beginning of his impact, one that would reverberate well beyond his immediate goals. If you found Jamal's journey inspiring, you need to subscribe now to our channel for more exclusive emotional stories that reflect the transformative power of resilience. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and ensure others can discover these motivating narratives. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Comment below with your reactions and theories about this remarkable conclusion. Finally, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness the power of overcoming adversity.